we've started about 5 years ago now a project that we call l'école, the school in Paris, which is a kind of platform for initiation or education on jewelry and decorative arts, which is part of quite a lot of initiatives that are very important for Van Cleef & Arpels, and where the point is not to promote one company or products and our collections, which we do through different channels, but the point is to try to expose as much as we can jewelry, fine jewelry within the field of decorative art, within the field of art and creation, and to get as many newcomers, a wider audience, people that are not necessarily the clients or the experts of fine jewelry, to get them to discover or understand a world that we feel can be quite fascinating. So that includes working with institutions, with museums, with you, with a lot of media, publishing houses, and that includes also the school, which delivers classes and experiences on jewelry, gemology, craftsmanship, and the history of jewelry. We just had the opportunity to expand a bit the premises of l'école a few months ago with a new, it's not very big, it's in Paris, in Place Vendôme, but we have an additional floor, which is a kind of auditorium space. And at some point, we thought it could be interesting to use it as an exhibition space. And a while back, not a while back, but probably 2 years ago, Daniel showed me on one of my visits a collection that he did of necklaces called Nex, which is more than a collection, it's a whole art project, I think, including pieces and photographs, and really, to me, a very, very interesting take on jewelry. And we had kept that in mind, and we thought that would be a perfect space to exhibit that. So one thing, leading to another, we are absolutely thrilled to announce that exhibition is going to take place in October in Paris. And we're going to unveil that collection that nobody has seen before to Paris on the premises of l'école. But it's kind of a new activity for us to show and exhibit, artists, designers, craftsmen that are not part of the Van Cleef & Arpels universe, but that we feel bring something very exciting and additional to that world of fine jewelry. So that's the whole context, and I think it's also, on the last note, very important because there is within the history of the house a very, very strong American chapter, and it's actually the American chapter of Van Cleef & Arpels history that was beautifully illustrated at the exhibition at Cooper Hewitt a few years back with Caroline and her team. And we feel that relationship with Daniel is really part also of that American history and tradition of Van Cleef & Arpels, which is still very dear to us in New York and in Paris. So we're quite happy to this time to actually cross the ocean in the other way and bring an American jeweler to the Place Vendôme.
This is touching. I've been interviewed, I've had all the books, but this is touching to me, to be embraced. I didn't dress like this for theatrical reasons. I work in the morning, you're in my studio for an hour or two, and when you're gone, I'm going back to work. So I wanted you to know that I'm not a designer, I don't have a workshop, I don't have 1,000 people. Everything's made right here with my hands. And to be even a little more clear than that, it all started because I couldn't afford a wedding ring. My mother took me on the great trip to Europe, 11 countries in 13 days when I was 13 years old. And at the Victoria and Albert, I saw this little bowl. Had a bunch of little gold balls all over it, and it was stunning. And I knew I had to make something like that in my lifetime. We've been in this studio for 40 years. I try to grapple with all of it. So there's only so much of the existential drama I can bear at one time. What's Daniel Brush's brand? I don't know. I never thought about it. I get up and worry about what's there to say. Do I have anything to say? Do I know enough? Can I engrave as well as the armorers in Napoleon's court? I read and I study and I worry. Is it a struggle? Yeah, sure. I collect machinery. You see it all over the place. But virtually every single thing here is done the way, you know, a jeweler did it 100 years ago. There's a saw, engraving burins, files. So I make all the tools, hardening them harder than the steel. Looks like a wood carving chisel. Hammer, breaks, resharpen, hammer, breaks, resharpen. Every cut. Yeah. How else are you going to do it? If you can tell me another way to do it, I'd try to do it. But like all this is all carved by hand, inlaid with pure gold. I wanted to do a poetry book, a visual poetry book. So all 117 collars were made solely for the purpose of having it photographed by expired film for the book. I have all of them. It was a piece, all the pieces were made to make this book. And the book was done, the photographer is a young fellow that helps me move things because I can't do it anymore. And that's his girlfriend. And it was, I don't know, what, 3 years to do this. And Nicolas was the first person that saw this. I didn't want to make a catalog for jewelry. I didn't want to have it too, I want it to be a kind of vague dream. I've been doing the same drawing or painting for 50 years. They just take on a different look or shape or color. They're all basically based on my study of the No theater from Japan. From a distance, and they've been in exhibits, from a distance, people say, fine, he dips the brush, whoosh. It's not that. I use my grandfather's ruling pen, which is the old-fashioned, there's a little screw and there's 2 leaves, predating a rapidograph, and it is take a breath, there's 1 drop, approach, and make 1 line, exhale, repeatedly until the momentum stops. And what they are in some way are like that, they're the same. This is carved in steel, that's written on a piece of paper, but they're my thoughts, they're poems. In some way they're recording my heartbeat because the fluctuations on the ink, it's the deposit of the quantity of ink to the less quantity of ink depending on my own state. My days are quiet. You know, I sweep the floor for 3 or 4 hours every single morning. I kind of ease into it. 11 o'clock, I'm working. Olivia is working and helping and also keeping that door closed and answering the phones. And that's what it's like here. I'm looking and studying all the time. No mystery.